Ooh, Bad Larry.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Bad Larry Kingdom. I'm your host, Bad Larry, and today I'm very excited to review the 2024 relaunch of X-Men #1 from the Ashes. But before I review this story, the nuances and the positives, I would like to address the few negatives I have with the issue and get it out of the way. And to be fair to Jed MacKay, the negatives I have with this book does not deal with him. My issues are mainly art-based, which fall onto Ryan Stegman and the artist Marte Gracia, the colorist. Issue #1, on the cover. Who is the bald-headed dude laying on the ground with the big black eyes and the gold nose ring? Is it Zorn? Someone tell me down in the comments below. It's annoying me. And why is it Magneto on the cover as he's a member of the team? Issue #2, Psylocke's appearance. What do we have here? Psylocke is Betsy Braddock or Psylocke is Quanon? My limited efforts into research makes me feel like it's Quanon, the Asian lady, as I think Betsy Braddock is still LARPing around as Captain Britain. If I'm correct, this depiction by Ryan Stegman does not look Asian at all. She looks like flippin' Selena Gomez, which is weird. And why does her eyes all of a sudden go white when she's using her psi blades or her telepathy? This was never the case before. And why is she wearing that coat like Rogue with the collar and the sleeves rolled up? She's a ninja. This coat is tactically all wrong for her. Issue #3, Cyclops belt pockets and shoulder X's. It appears the belt pockets are supposed to be yellow. They are yellow on the cover and through most of the book. However, Marte Gracia decided to color them leathery brown in a few panels, which is odd. And his shoulder X's, sometimes they are there, sometimes they are not. The consistency in coloring and design are the worst, though, with Temper. And my final issue, issue #4, is with Temper. First of all, I was introduced to this character as Oyo. So changing her name willy-nilly is a bad look. Changing costumes, even appearances like Beast is acceptable, but totally changing names is weird and makes the character feel ungrounded. But the name change is fine. It represents her powers better, and I'm fine with it. What I'm not fine with is her suit colors, eye colors, and hair colors flip-flopping like a fish. Her wiki page specifically states that when she uses her powers, her right eye glows blue and her left eye glows orange. Let's look at how many color errors there are. Too many. Okay, now that's out of the way, let's move on to the positives, the review, and my final opinion on the book. When starting off a new X-Men book, there are a few key ingredients you'll need, kind of like making a pizza. Sure, pizza looks and tastes different from around the country and the world, but you know when you have good pizza from bad pizza. And it's the foundational ingredients that make the difference. What are the key ingredients in starting a new X-Men team and story? #1, Cyclops must be the leader of the team, and he must have a visor. His traditional colors have been blue and yellow, the colors he's been in the most, and we have that here. Check. #2, Beast. Beast does not have to be on the team, but if he is, the artist is likely going to draw him in a funky new way. It's almost traditional by now. Here we do have a traditional colored furry blue Beast, but those eyes and body proportions, definitely in Ryan Stegman's own style. Check. The key ingredient #3, you gotta have a heavy hitter, a tanky boy, or a tanky girl. Juggernaut does the trick. Check. The key ingredient in making this new X-Men pizza analogy is you have to have a little spicy firecracker character. They have to be small but kick-ass and tough. The Wolverine type character. Hence magic. Check. And you gotta have an elemental character. Someone who does fire or ice or weather or land or something to do with the earth elements. And here we have one person that encapsulates 3, Temper. Check. These last 2 ingredients go without saying. You gotta have someone older than Cyclops that sometimes challenges him as a leader and pushes him Typically it's Professor X, but here we have Magneto. Check. And you have to have a telepath on the team, and here we have two. Check. And finally, the last piece of this pizza analogy puzzle is tension. You have to have that tension on the team. Tension and banter on the team is the final key ingredient, and so far, I believe we have just enough of that to pass the test. Check. Now that we have all of our key ingredients to make our X-Men pizza, let's see if it tastes good, meaning, do all these characters work together? Do they make sense being on this team? I believe the answer is yes, and here is where the subtle nuances begin. What is the common thread with all these characters? I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I'll use the Star Wars analogy. All these characters have dabbled some or a lot in the dark side of the Force, if you will. Cyclops, typically the Boy Scout, killed Professor X when he was the Phoenix, went to jail as a world terrorist, then became the face of the mutant resistance bad boy team. So he has some dark elements to his past. Magneto and Juggernaut were just villains to begin with. More than half of their story arcs have them as villains, so plenty of darkness there. Magic is not only Russian, which for many is the wrong side, but she is also connected to demonic limbo, so she has darkness about her. Kid Omega, Quentin Quire, started off this issue cussing, is an all-around brat, and had led a revolt against Professor X when he was a student. So he has that bad boy Black Air Force energy about him. And Psylocke was also an outright villain when she was around Mandarin. She's often cold and distant and has that darkness as well. Beast in this issue addresses a darkness regarding the recent events dealing with Krakoa and states, quote, "I'll leave it at for my sins," end quote. So Beast recently took a trip to the dark side of the Force. And finally, Temper has many times dealt negatively with herself regarding her powers, calling herself a monster. And during a previous series, at the tender age of 14, Cyclops allowed her to kill a bunch of Hellfire Club goons, and she seemed quite unfazed by it, signifying her ease in traversing into the dark side. And when I saw this team initially, I thought it was just a hodgepodge, loosely thrown together team, but I can see each character seems to be methodically chosen to be on this team. Each character deals with the darkness from their past or has darkness in their past. I also thought it was a huge miss to not put Jean Grey on this team, but now I understand why. Having Jean Grey on the team would be boring. Scott and Jean love each other, yeah. And then what? Scott and Jean have always struggled to be with each other, and this story seems to be in that same thread. Jean is apparently in outer space, and that causes or would cause tension between her and Scott, which is what a good story needs, tension. So Jean can't be on the team, or at least not yet, or for a while. Heck, that also allows the possibility for Scott and Psylocke to heat up. I mean, she gave him that look once before. Now let's dive into the book, into the story. On the cover, this needs to be something special. X-Men #1 needs to be special. You are competing against the best-selling book of all time, X-Men #1 from Jim Lee. Does this cover live up to that level? No way. It does a good enough job putting the main characters on display with their new uniforms. It's colorful, but is not legendary by any means. I see that Ryan Stegman went to the school of drawing feet from Jim Lee. Just don't draw them at all. The cover is B tier. Very good, not great from my perspective, but X-Men is my all-time favorite brand, so I'm evaluating this thing with a fine-tooth comb. If I was a kid again, 3rd grade to 6th grade, would I think this was cool? Heck yes! Hell yeah! It would definitely make me want to pick it up and read it. So from a kid's perspective, I give the cover an A tier. The intro page, I like this. I feel like for a long time, comic books have been solely written for just an adult audience. Too serious, too dramatic. This page tells me Jed McCain is really trying to grow the brand with a younger audience. That middle schooler who's never read a comic, knows very little about these characters and needs a very basic who's who of the characters in the book and what the X-Men are all about. The advertisement on the left solidifies my point. A Lego Spider-Man ad targeting a 4th or 5th grader. The story, art, and setup of the book points at being marketed to a younger audience, and I'm very much okay with it. Location is established quickly as being in Merle, Alaska. The X-Men have established their base at this old factory. The big red X kinda gives it away. The chief of police was called by Cyclops to the base as a meet and greet opportunity, but because he's not there and the lady cop is greeted by Beast instead. These pages may seem basic, but there's a lot of subtle nuance that needs to be addressed. Number one, why Alaska? Well, Cyclops has a connection to Alaska. He went to Alaska when he left the X-Men to live a normal life with Madeline Pryor and his baby son. He was also born in Alaska, so Cyclops has deep roots with Alaska. Number two, Alaska is a tough-ass environment, physically not connected to the United States, so the citizens of Alaska are technically Americans, but they're also something more. They're tough, they're unique, they survive different. And I think that represents the X-Men team perfectly. This team is unique in that they're all a bit of a dark past. They're tough. These characters lived and survived out on the edge even before joining this team. They're edgy, so what better to put the edgiest team out there but on the edges of the earth where the days are short and the nights are long. Again, darkness. The other teams, I think, are in New York City, New Orleans, California, places that are cool, man, yeah. Not this team. They set up shop in the coldest, darkest environment, way, way away from everything, on purpose. It's kind of where they belong. The cop is taken aback by Beast's appearance. This shows that these humans haven't been around mutants a lot. Of course, because they are in BFE Alaska, and if you saw a giant furry blue beast, you'd kind of make a funny face too. Beast informs the Lady Chief that Cyclops is not at the factory, he's the commander, and out on doing dangerous X-Men work. This is very important dialogue. It gives the little kid who doesn't know anything much about the X-Men a good understanding of who's in charge. I would have used the word captain, but describing Cyclops as the commander does the job. He's in charge of the team. The nuance is what must be fully understood about Cyclops' character. He does not follow the Charles Xavier's dream fully. The full integration of mutants and humans in society. He's also not a total isolationist like Magneto. He's somewhere in the middle of those two ideas. He puts the mutants first and foremost, which is why Magneto is cool with Cyclops being the leader, but Cyclops also wants to let the humans in the area know he is there as a friend and not a foe. He will help them as well. This is why Cyclops didn't need to be there to meet with the Lady Chief. Inviting her to the facility was all he felt he needed to do. Extend the olive branch. And like a good leader, delegated the tour to Beast, whom he trusts as his main priority is the mission of saving mutants. This point solidified on the beer page. The mission is done, the job is done. So what do men do at the end of the hard day's work? They have a beer, ponder if they did a good job that day or not. Beast informs Cyclops of how the interaction with the Lady Chief went, and Cyclops responds strategically. It's not that he's cold and doesn't care personally about the lady, but his main responsibility is to his team. So he wants to build a good relationship with the Lady Chief to keep the peace with the town for his own people's protection. Very strategic. And then Beast wants to take down the giant frozen sentinel overlooking the town, but Cyclops sips the beer and says not yet. He wants the humans to realize the X-Men help the humans and the humans owe the X-Men. And to the giant sentinel will stay as a reminder until Cyclops feels the humans can be peaceful to his team. So very much in line with Cyclops' character as a master, strategist, and leader. Why does Kid Omega look like the pop star Pink? Very effeminate looking character. And again, Psylocke does not look Asian at all. But I digress. The team is flying in on their new ship. Cyclops is commanding the mission. And what I do really like is Beast comments about Cyclops' field leadership, stating that Beast considers Cyclops the best field combat leader. Better than even Captain America, as Beast was an Avenger for a while. The dialogue may seem corny to an avid X-Men fan, as we know Cyclops' strengths and weaknesses. But I go back to that new, younger reader who hasn't read all the previous X-Men volumes, and this could be his or her first X-Men book. So this dialogue sets the tone for Cyclops' character. Only for his entire team to delay his orders, ignore them, or not fully commit. Cyclops is established as the best field commander in the previous scene, only for him to appear to have very little actual control, or at least only limited control over his team, allowing for the team to develop over time, get better, become more cohesive. Magic and Juggernaut play rock, paper, scissors, ignoring the order to deploy, showing they are the hard-to-manage types and allows for some comedic tension. I like it. Kid Omega listens to Cyclops' orders like a 7th grader listens to a substitute teacher. Barely. I really like the team's new airship. It looks like a pirate ship. And Cyclops' dad is a space pirate. I dig it. And we see a big power display from Temper, again playing to the younger reader who needs to see this, as it is a comic book and we all want to see displays of power. The team seems to finally get into a rhythm here on this page. Magic riding Juggernaut like a bull is funny. And the team descending from the ship tactically is also very cool. Cyclops leading from the front, the team is starting to come together. The whole draw page is cool. Again, you got to inspire that younger reader to draw and develop more interest into the industry. Even though Beast could very well be on the field team given his physical gifts, he is tasked with base duties with the other uglies, or should I say heteromorphics. Why is Glob included here in this issue? I guess it shows that with the fall of Krakoa, all these mutants needed to go somewhere, and Glob clearly cannot go hide in society amongst the humans, so I guess Cyclops let him tag along with the bad boys crew, even though Glob is clearly not a bad boy mutant. The big reveal here is that the factory was recently used to produce Sentinels that kill mutants, and now is the home base for our X-Men team. The Lady Chief seems unfazed by the irony here, and asks Beast all about the people who work there and that are now out of a job. I mean, the balls on this lady. The town was an industrial genocide factory. The X-Men owe these humans nothing at this point and aren't responsible for their economy. And to be fair, it isn't even the job of the chief of police either. That's the mayor's concern. So I feel like this Lady Chief is way out of the line during this entire intro into our X-Men team and during the tour. It took me a while to realize that was Wolverine nailed to that X. Ryan Stegman made him look a little bit too much like Beast in this panel in my opinion, but it's okay. For us older readers, we can see Wolverine could rip his hands through that nail and get himself free, but the message is clear. The issue is a rescue mission. Rescue Wolverine. There's also some symbolism here. Maybe I'm looking too deep into it. Wolverine is nailed up to the cross, Jesus style, and is basically praying to all the telepaths for his salvation. He names off every major telepath, and we as adult readers may say this is poor writing, as most of us know all of the telepaths. But again, I do believe the effort is being made to hook new readers to the line. A new reader doesn't know all the telepaths, and now they do. They can go look them up on the internet and dive deeper into the lore of these characters. I'm okay with it. The X-Men show up and start kicking ass. But whose asses are they kicking? Why do the baddies look like AIM soldiers, and why do they have an X on their masks? Somehow Juggernaut has all the intel. Interesting. The fourth school, which are these clowns, want to infuse humans, mutants, technology, and AI into the majority population of Earth, the fourth evolution of humanity. And they look to achieve that by consuming mutant DNA, which is why we see Wolverine here being cut to pieces. Some cool battle scenes for the love of the game. Cyclops shows he can bounce his optic blast, taking out 2 enemies at once. Juggernaut and Magic take on the remaining Sentinels, still bantering with each other, and the team working together to overcome these enemies. But the mission isn't over. As Psylocke is recovering Wolverine, there should be 6 new mutants here that may need rescuing. At least that is the data Cerebro gave Cyclops. Beast continues the amicable tour with the Lady Chief, does a little flirting, and actually sets up a date. We learn that Beast has some past demons he wants to move on from, but the point of these interactions was to lure the audience into a false sense of kumbaya, the humans and the X-Men will get along, hooray! Psylocke is a ninja. She does ninja stuff to free Wolverine. I still don't like that her eyes wide out when she uses her powers. I feel it's lazy art and not canon. Kid Omega is talking shit about Cyclops and the X-Men being failures, failing people and the other mutants, and hating on Temper for being an actual good member of the team. Temper's motivation is to make the team better, so it's commendable. We also learned these two were in a romantic relationship once that didn't work out, allowing for tension and also giving the new readers some insight into the characters. All the while destroying a Sentinel, just the two of them. Well, three once Juggernaut steps in to help out. Ugh, Greg Lance, Tracer extraordinaire. He makes this Spider-Man, I don't know, too feminine looking, too soft or something. I don't like the art. You tell me if you like it or not down below. Temper and Kid Omega didn't think the Commander could overhear their shit-talking, but Cyclops, as a cool, calm, and collected leader, responds purposefully, reinforcing the reason why he picked Temper to be on the team. He feels she can make it better. He only reinforces the positive behavior and moves on quickly from the negative. A great example for us all when we're dealing with subordinates, especially ones like Kid Omega. Wolverine makes a cringe statement about healing himself, which we all know he can, but again, the new readers, they need to know more about his mutant power, and Wolverine did just that, so I'm okay with it. Cyclops needs to know about the new mutants, but Kid Omega can't detect any children here. And for the new readers, informs the audience the mutant powers develop once a person hits puberty, not before, and definitely not way late into adulthood. The new mutants are these genetic freakazoids from the fourth school science project, and they don't look like they're interested in being rescued. Beast introduced the Lady Chief to Zorn, another ugly, and reduces him to simply being the healer of the team, even though he is clearly much more and can be much more. And that is where the nice tour for the Lady Chief ends. Magneto rocks up in a sweet floaty chair and suit, clearly a nod to Professor X as he was in the wheelchair and suit, and we see Beast keep calling Magneto Max, not Eric. I don't know when he switched from Eric to being Max, but okay, I guess he's Max now. Well, Max is back to being the extremist we all know him for. He's a mutant superiorist. He doesn't care about the Lady Chief or making her feel welcome or safe. Magneto is fear-based. He uses fear as his main weapon, even more than his power of magnetism. And he drops a sick bar. I understand metal very well, and I understand metal. Metal as in the material, and metal as in the strength of hardships of your character, both manipulated and strengthened when put under intense heat and hardships. The best line of the book so far. He is clear to the Lady Chief, peace through strength. Leave us alone, and we'll leave you alone, because we have the power to F you up at any time, and don't forget about it. Ah, that's the Magneto I most enjoy, the megalomaniac. And Magneto has been on a Cyclops team before. They understand each other. And Cyclops likes having a nuclear bomb at his disposal in case of emergencies, which is why he allows Magneto to kind of be himself, really skirt the line of the dark side and the light side. I like the X Factor logos and seeing Angel back with feathery wings. I may check this out and see if it's viable. The 6 new mutants, freakazoids, battle with the X-Men. But are they an actual match? No, they aren't. Cyclops makes one final attempt at peace, selling the "we're mutants, you're mutants, let's get along." But these new freakazoids aren't having it. They don't identify totally with mutant kind. They feel superior, so they fight and they lose. But we learn the names of the enemy organization, calling itself 3K. The 3K operates, watches in the shadows, and evaluates the effectiveness of their 6 hybrid genetic freakazoid Frankenweenies. The enemy organization realizes their mutant monsters will lose, but takes the positive that their science worked out, and clearly will try again and again and again until they're taken out. The X-Men defeat their foes, have rescued Wolverine, the mission is over, it's time to bounce. Cyclops tries to recruit Wolverine to the team, but Wolverine declines. Look, these two have never been chummy, but at least Cyclops extended the invitation. And I accept Wolverine's decision, not just because he needs to have his own book to boost sales for Marvel, but at the core, that's what Wolverine is, a wild, running free, not part of any kind of team kind of guy. He is really best alone, not having to worry about others and just able to let loose. Cyclops brought back some evidence for Beast to evaluate, give the team some clues on these new creatures. Kid Omega annoys Magneto, and Magneto delivers the second best line in the book, quote, "Tell me when he will die on a mission soon." End quote. The comedic tension, banter, it's very good. And we've already discovered this page, Cyclops finishing work day with a cold snack, and I think establishing that Beast is his number 2 guy, his lieutenant, if you will, the person Cyclops trusts the most to keep the team on their mission. What an image. The frozen and inoperative Sentinel ominously looking over the town like a hellish statue, a reminder to the town to not F with the X-Men, give them space and peace, and everything should be gravy. I understand that Marvel wants their customers to engage more using this QR code, but come on, man, I bought the comic. Just give me the freaking page without having me do all this rigmarole. It's annoying. Anyways, we are introduced to the Cabal that appears to be 3K. The Zealot, the Doctor, the Means, and the Chairman. We don't see their faces, but the silhouettes seem like they could be mutants or clones of mutants. The Chairman clearly looks like he has a Cerebro helmet like Professor X, but that dude's in jail in his own mind, so I don't think it's him. But I think it's interesting they're sitting at a table with the lighting making an X, so it appears that they could be mutants. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Who are these characters? My final opinion is that this book is better than I expected. There are some art errors and some art styles that may not be my favorite, but I'm intrigued, I'm interested. The X-Men, I feel, have always been connected to duality, similar to Spider-Man. Being a hero and trying to live a life, learning to control their gifts while trying to be accepted into society. When there is duality, the stories are interesting, and we see a lot of duality in these characters. Temper, dual powers, dual eye colors, and her costume split down the middle, epitomizing the duality I'm talking about. Psylocke, another character, will be with a lot of historical duality, being connected to both Betsy Braddock and Quanon. The Beast, he's switched back and forth from human form to beast form and deals with the dual nature of his ferocious power and his formidable intellect. Zorn and Magneto, duality there. For a long time, this character that was Zorn, everyone believed was Magneto. So it's interesting the writers chose to include this specific character into the story. Magic is both a mutant and the ruler of Limbo. Duality again. I recommend this book. I give it an 89 out of 100, a solid B+. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Have I looked at this too deeply, or am I on the right track? Either way, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you real soon. Peace.